I always thought my friends had each other's backs, until I realized one of us had a knife. It was always the six of us, inseparable since freshman year of college, until Roxy went missing on a Sunday night. She left for boba at 8 p.m. and nobody's heard from her since. 3 days later, city police opened a missing person case. It made no sense. Literally the night before, we were dying laughing at her terrible karaoke, planning our spring break trip to the beach in the group chat. She was our spark, the one who'd FaceTime you from outside your dorm until you let her in because we're getting food and you're coming. Without her, we all retreated to our rooms, and the group chat became just shared TikToks with no replies. After a couple weeks went by, our group tried to reconnect, but Connor wouldn't talk about that night. He was the last person with her. They'd gone for boba together around 8 p.m., but anytime someone brought it up, he'd shut down. I already told the cops everything, he'd say, then change the subject or leave the room. It never sat right with me. Then Connor started ghosting us completely. His Instagram told a different story though. Parties every night, beer pong championships, spring break trips like nothing happened. He'd take days to reply to our messages or just leave us on read. The group assumed Connor was just hurt the most. On that karaoke night, he'd confessed his love to Roxy for like the 10th time, right there in front of everyone. She gave him the same gentle rejection as always. You know I love you, just not like that. He laughed it off and ordered another round, but we all knew how much he actually loved her. Connor kept ghosting us, but there was one thing that would make him respond instantly: the thought of searching for Roxy. We'd plan search parties in the group chat, and suddenly he'd break his silence. You're wasting your time. She probably doesn't want to be found. We'd share missing person flyers, and within seconds, this is obsessive, just let her go. When her parents came to campus, he was conveniently too sick to meet them. Weeks later, I bumped into Connor at a party. He was wasted, stumbling around. When he spotted me, he grabbed my shoulder and pulled me close, his breath reeking of vodka. You know what's funny? He slurred. Everyone thinks she's so perfect, but perfect people don't just disappear. Maybe she finally went somewhere she actually wanted to be. The way he said it, like he knew exactly where Roxy was. This was the last straw. I had to tell the others. The group thought I was paranoid. He's depressed, Nicole said. People say weird things when they're grieving. Richard agreed, saying he loved her. He's probably just hammered and spiraling. But then Nicole said we couldn't just leave him alone like this. Even if Connor was pushing everyone away, we needed to make sure he was okay. That's what real friends do. They show up, especially when someone's hurting. That Saturday afternoon, we drove to his house unannounced. When Connor cracked the door open, Richard pushed past him. Connor looked panicked. We said we were worried about him, just wanted to make sure he was okay. He kept insisting we needed to leave, saying he was exhausted, hadn't been sleeping, just needed to lie down. That's when we heard a thud from below the ground. Connor went white. He blamed it on his neighbor moving furniture and said the walls were thin. But Connor lived on the ground floor. The only thing below him was the basement. He was getting more desperate, practically shoving us toward the door. That's when I noticed 2 sets of dishes in his sink, 2 glasses on the counter, 2 jackets on the hook. Connor lived completely alone. We left Connor's house, but something felt deeply wrong. The group huddled outside, and I kept bringing up the dishes, the basement noise, his panic. Guys, there's clearly something wrong here, I insisted. But everyone seemed relieved we'd finally checked on him. See? He's alive, just grieving, Nicole said, almost cheerful. The poor guy probably has a hookup over. Richard patted my shoulder like I'd been proven wrong. Connor's always been weird about his space. At least we tried. Even the thud from the basement became a joke. Old buildings make noise, Jade laughed. Connor's clearly grieving. We did our part as friends. They were all so satisfied we'd been good friends. Check the box. Case closed. But I couldn't shake that thud we'd heard. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Roxy, about Connor's behavior, about those 2 glasses. At 3 a.m., I made a decision. I drove back to Connor's house and parked across the street, just watching. His lights were still on. Through the window, I could see him pacing back and forth on his phone. Then he disappeared from view. A few minutes later, I saw him carrying grocery bags inside. 2 bags from CVS. Why would someone need pharmacy runs at 3 a.m.? I stayed until sunrise. Around 6 a.m., Connor emerged with a garbage bag. He walked it all the way to the dumpster behind the building, looking over his shoulder the whole time. He dumped it and springed back to his house. I knew I shouldn't, but I walked over and looked inside. My stomach dropped. On top were the CVS receipts, bandages, antiseptic, women's vitamins, Plan B. But underneath, soaked in what looked like dried blood, was Roxy's purple NYU hoodie, the same one she wore that night. The sleeves were torn, like they'd been used to tie something, or someone. My hands were shaking as I took photos of everything. Then I heard Connor's door open above me. My heart hammered against my ribs as I pressed myself against the dumpster, trying to disappear into the shadows. Connor's footsteps echoed down the fire escape, each metallic clang sending fresh waves of panic through me. I clutched my phone tighter, the evidence photos burning bright on the screen, and made a split-second decision. The hoodie would have to stay. I needed to run. I sprinted toward my car, my sneakers slapping against the wet concrete. Behind me, Connor's voice cut through the dawn air, sharp and accusatory. He'd positioned himself between me and my Honda, his frame blocking my escape route. His eyes darted between my face and the glowing phone screen in my hand, and I watched his expression shift from confusion to understanding to something darker. I forced the words out, my voice steadier than I felt. The question hung between us like a challenge. Connor's face went through a rapid transformation, panic flashing across his features, then a calculating look as he weighed his options, before finally settling into cold fury. He took a deliberate step closer, and his response sent ice through my veins. The admission hit me like a physical blow. A window scraped open above us. Mrs. Chen's complaints about the noise gave me the opening I needed. I dodged around Connor, my shoulder brushing his as I lunged for my car door. He smoothly shifted his attention to the elderly neighbor, his voice taking on that easy charm I'd seen him use 1,000 times before. His explanation sounded so reasonable, so normal, just two people having a minor disagreement about garbage. I fumbled with my keys, finally getting the engine started. In my rearview mirror, I caught Connor pulling out his phone, his fingers flying across the screen. My mind raced through my options. The police station was 15 minutes away, but Connor could destroy everything in the dumpster before they'd even take my statement. My apartment was closer, and I needed to secure the evidence first. The empty streets blurred past as I drove, my phone vibrating constantly on the passenger seat. Nicole's name flashed across the screen repeatedly. When I finally glanced at her messages at a red light, my stomach sank. Connor had already started his counterattack, painting me as the unstable one. The concerned friend narrative was already taking shape. I burst into my apartment, not even bothering to lock the door behind me. My laptop took forever to boot up while I created new cloud storage accounts, uploading every photo to multiple services. The shower running in my roommate's bathroom made me freeze. If Connor claimed I was stalking him, having a witness to my late-night activities wouldn't help my case. Once the uploads finished, I studied the photos more carefully. The CVS receipt timestamps painted a disturbing pattern. Every purchase at 2:47 a.m., like clockwork. The items were always the same: bandages, antiseptic, women's hygiene products, 2 weeks of identical purchases, 2 weeks of someone being held, being hurt, being controlled. My phone buzzed with a group text from Richard. The emergency meeting setup felt like a trap, but I couldn't avoid it without looking guilty. Connor's preemptive strike was working exactly as he'd planned. I grabbed my car keys, knowing I was walking into an ambush. Nicole called as I sat in my bedroom, trying to prepare myself for what was coming. Her carefully neutral tone told me everything I needed to know. She recited Connor's version of events, how I'd been obsessively asking about him and Roxy. The gaslighting had begun in earnest, and I could hear the doubt creeping into her voice. I couldn't let Connor destroy the evidence. I drove back to his building, my hands gripping the steering wheel. The dumpster sat empty, its contents vanished despite the pickup schedule showing it wasn't due for another 2 days. I screenshotted the schedule on my phone, adding it to my growing collection of evidence. Jade's text arrived like a lifeline. Her message was careful, cryptic, but the meaning was clear. She saw through Connor's performance. I changed direction, heading for the engineering lab instead of Richard's apartment. Richard's living room was packed when I finally arrived. Connor sat in the center like a wounded bird, surrounded by our friends as he scrolled through old group messages on his phone. He'd curated a collection of my concerned texts from weeks ago, each innocent question now twisted into evidence of obsession. The way he presented my genuine worry as something sinister made my skin crawl. He continued his performance, showing everyone the timeline I'd created trying to piece together Roxy's last day. What had been an attempt to help find our friend was now being weaponized against me. The group's faces showed a mix of concern and discomfort as they looked between Connor and me. Connor's suggestion of an intervention felt like a noose tightening around my neck. Nicole's eagerness to search my room while I was distracted sent fresh alarm through me. The coordination was too smooth, too practiced. He'd done this before. I left Richard's building to find an email from my RA about concerning reports from other residents. My keycard access to certain campus buildings had been suspended pending a wellness evaluation. Connor's reach extended further than I'd imagined. He'd been planning this for hours, maybe days. Dr. Patel's dismissal of my evidence felt like another blow. Connor had gotten to her first, spinning his tale of a friend group torn apart by tragedy and my supposed inability to cope. She'd already decided I was projecting guilt over some unrelated high school trauma. The system that should have helped was now working against me. I found a propped maintenance door at Connor's building and slipped inside. His apartment was empty, but sounds drifted up through the floor vent, muffled and indistinct but definitely there. Someone was below, in a basement that supposedly didn't exist. Connor's bathroom revealed more evidence. Long black hairs in the drain that definitely weren't his phone charging on the counter, the lock screen showing notification after notification from a pharmacy app, medication reminders, refill alerts, dosage timers. He was managing someone's medication schedule. Jade's data at the engineering lab painted an even clearer picture. She'd tracked Connor's keycard usage across campus, revealing a pattern of late-night visits to the old psychology building's basement. The timestamps aligned perfectly with his pharmacy runs. He was maintaining 2 locations, moving between them like clockwork. Emma's message arrived while we worked. Connor's ex-girlfriend from sophomore year, the one who'd transferred schools mid-semester with no explanation. Her willingness to talk about why she really left sent hope and dread through me in equal measure. Richard's private text surprised me. He'd noticed the holes in Connor's story, and Nicole had found my cloud storage links. They wanted to meet without Connor knowing. The cracks in his support system were starting to show. Connor's Instagram story showed him at a group hangout, playing the role of the grieving friend perfectly. But Jade's screenshot of his location services told a different story. While he was supposedly with friends, his phone placed him near the psychology building. Another late-night visit to his second location. Dr. Martinez from campus security called as I drove toward the off-campus diner. Her mention of Jade's keycard data and her willingness to meet unofficially gave me the first real hope I'd felt all day. Someone in authority was finally willing to listen. The pieces were falling into place, but Connor was moving faster. He'd anticipated my moves, prepared for my resistance. The battle for the truth about Roxy had only just begun, and I was already playing defense. But I had something Connor didn't expect. Friends who were starting to question his story, evidence he couldn't destroy, and a determination to find Roxy that no amount of gaslighting could shake. My phone screen showed screenshots of my mother's Facebook page. Connor had been messaging her as a concerned friend, telling her I was having a mental breakdown at school. The manipulation extended beyond campus now, reaching into my family life. I recognized this pattern immediately. Emma had mentioned he'd done the same to her before she transferred. Dr. Martinez listened intently as I explained everything at the diner. Emma joined us via video call, her face tense as as she recounted her own experience. Connor had held her captive for 3 days during sophomore year, but when she tried to report it, everyone dismissed it as relationship drama. The pattern was escalating. What had been a weekend with Emma was now weeks with Roxy. Nicole started questioning Connor's urgency to get me expelled. During a tense meeting in his apartment, she'd asked why he was so desperate to stop my investigation if I was just having a breakdown. His reaction had been telling, offering to pay her tuition if she kept me away from his place. The bribery attempt had backened, making Nicole realize something was seriously wrong. Richard and Nicole met me secretly at my apartment that evening. They admitted Connor had been acting increasingly erratic since they'd started questioning his story. The three of us decided to investigate the psychology building basement using Jade's stolen keycard. What we found there made my blood run cold. A makeshift living area with chains bolted to the wall, dozens of medication bottles, and Roxy's missing phone hidden behind a loose brick. Emma's old roommate Sarah reached out with disturbing information. Connor's high school girlfriend had gone missing for a week during their senior year. Everyone assumed she'd run away, but when she returned, she was different. Withdrawn, terrified, refusing to talk about where she'd been. The pattern stretched back years. Connor confronted me aggressively on campus the next day. I managed to record the entire interaction on my phone as his mask slipped. He grabbed my arm hard enough to leave bruises, threatening me if I didn't stop spreading lies. His composure was cracking, and the real Connor was showing through. Roxy's parents arrived on campus unexpectedly. They'd been receiving strange emails from their daughter claiming she was taking time to find herself. But Mr. Park, a cybersecurity expert, immediately noticed the writing style was off. More importantly, the emails came from a device Roxy had never owned. Her parents saw through the deception immediately. During a group dinner, Connor wore long sleeves despite the sweltering heat. When he reached for the salt, Nicole caught a glimpse of bandages wrapped around his wrists. She asked pointedly if Roxy had fought back. The entire table went silent as Connor scrambled to explain away the injuries. Connor tried a different tactic, offering me $50,000 to take a semester off and get help. When I refused, he warned that Roxy wouldn't want her friends destroying each other like this. Richard immediately pointed out that Connor had just used present tense about Roxy. The slip revealed more than any accusation could. Jade's engineering friends analyzed the pharmacy notification patterns from Connor's phone screenshot. They found a purchasing pattern of sedatives that matched documented medical kidnapping cases. The timeline revealed weeks of systematic captivity. Connor's support network began crumbling as even his frat brothers started distancing themselves. Building maintenance reported strange noises from the old psychology building. When security investigated, they found the basement room we discovered had been hastily cleared out. But hidden in a ventilation grate were pages from Roxy's journal, documenting weeks of captivity, failed escape attempts, and Connor's delusional beliefs about their relationship. Nicole took out a semester's worth of student loans to pay back Connor's attempted bribe. She texted me that she was all in on finding Roxy. Our friend group, once divided, was slowly reuniting around the search effort. We spent hours piecing together the journal entries, each page revealing more about Connor's escalating control and delusions. When we confronted Connor with the journal pages, he finally cracked. Standing in his apartment doorway, he broke down, blaming Roxy for making him do it because she kept saying she didn't love him. The admission, while deflecting responsibility, was still a confession. We had him. Roxy's parents confirmed the journal handwriting matched their daughter's. Mr. Park's digital analysis proved the pages had been written over the past month. The evidence was mounting, and Connor's options were shrinking. His frat brothers overheard him on a phone call telling someone to keep her sedated until he figured things out. The shift in public opinion was palpable. People who had dismissed me as paranoid now whispered about Connor's weird behavior and the basement discovery. Our friend group's united front on social media brought forward 3 more girls with disturbing stories about Connor from high school. His pattern of behavior stretched back years. Roxy's parents hired a private investigator through Mr. Park's security connections. We shared all our evidence, including my recorded confrontation with Connor. The investigation was becoming professional, systematic, and Connor knew it. He was running out of moves. Connor cornered me alone in a parking garage. His confession was chilling. He admitted Roxy would never be the same, that he'd made sure of that. My phone captured every word. His mask had completely fallen away, revealing the monster underneath. Sarah introduced me to Amy, Connor's high school girlfriend who had supposedly run away. She revealed that Connor had held her in his family's cabin, but everyone had believed his worried boyfriend act. The pattern was clear. Connor had been doing this for years, getting better at it each time. We formed a coordinated search network, with the original friend group, Jade's engineering crew, and Emma joining virtually. We systematically checked every location Connor had access to. His own mother, confronted with the evidence, admitted she'd always wondered why his girlfriends disappeared, but had enabled him by looking the other way. Derek, Connor's roommate, found women's medication hidden in Connor's room. The discovery shattered his last illusions about his friend's innocence. Even Connor's most loyal supporters were abandoning him as the evidence mounted. Dr. Patel from Counseling Services approached me with an apology. She admitted she should have recognized Connor's manipulation tactics. Former doubters came forward with their own observations. Strangers mentioned seeing Connor buying women's products for weeks, always late at night, always alone. The private investigator confirmed that Connor's CVS purchases matched a specific medical regimen for keeping someone sedated but alive. The evidence proved sustained, deliberate captivity. Roxy's parents gave Connor 24 hours to reveal their daughter's location before they would handle things their own way. During a campus party, Connor had a complete public breakdown. He screamed about ungrateful women who didn't appreciate real love, revealing his true nature to everyone present. The stakes had crystallized. We needed to find Roxy before Connor did something irreversible or before her parents took justice into their own hands. Instead of gloating about our progress, I reached out to Connor's mother with compassion. I asked her to help save both Roxy and Connor by revealing where he might feel safe enough to hide someone. She mentioned the family-owned property 20 minutes away, where Connor had spent summers as a child. Through careful cross-referencing of locations, purchases, and Connor's schedule, we identified 3 possible holding locations. Connor was arrested at the second location, but Roxy wasn't there. He laughed as they took him away, taunting that we'd never find her in time. Connor's mother remembered more details about the property. Connor had a workshop in the old barn where he'd spent hours alone as a teenager. The search party mobilized immediately while Connor's expensive lawyer argued for his immediate release on a technicality. Time was running out. Derek's phone call came as we approached the property. He remembered Connor mentioning the storm cellar was soundproof for band practice back in high school, perfect for hiding someone. The search team spread out across the overgrown property, checking every structure while Connor's lawyer filed harassment charges against me from his office downtown. The storm cellar door stood padlocked from outside, but fresh footprints led to a ventilation pipe sticking up from the ground nearby. Someone had been feeding her through it. Mr. Park's construction equipment arrived within minutes, and we carefully broke the lock while paramedics stood by. The smell hit us first, stale air mixed with human waste and fear. Roxy lay chained to the wall, severely malnourished and barely conscious from forced medication. The rescue team worked methodically to extract her, documenting everything for evidence while I held her hand. She managed to squeeze back weakly. In the ambulance, Roxy's first coherent words came out as a whisper. She told me she knew I'd find her, that Connor kept saying everyone thought she'd run away, but she knew I wouldn't believe it. The paramedics pushed more fluids as we raced toward the hospital. Connor's lawyer moved fast. By the time we reached the emergency room, harassment charges had been filed against me, claiming the search was illegal trespassing. The lawyer argued his client's family property had been violated without a warrant. My phone buzzed with notification after notification as the legal counterattack gained momentum. The dean summoned me to his office the next morning. Connor's family influence had reached the administration, and I faced potential expulsion for my role in the vigilante justice that led to Roxy's rescue. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd saved my friend but might lose everything in the process. Richard's parents threatened to pull his tuition if he didn't distance himself from the situation. Nicole's family expressed similar concerns. One by one, the friend group that had united to find Roxy began fracturing under legal and financial pressure. I understood their positions, but felt the isolation closing in. Standing alone in the dean's office, I faced a choice: accept a deal to drop everything in exchange for staying in school, or risk expulsion to ensure Connor faced justice. The decision took less than a second. I chose justice, knowing it would trigger a cascade of legal battles. The preliminary hearing brought everyone together in one room: survivors, families, friends, and Connor, who maintained his story about a misunderstanding despite overwhelming evidence. His lawyer painted him as a troubled young man who needed help, not prison time. Roxy testified via video link from her hospital bed. Her detailed account of the captivity, the forced medication, the chains, and Connor's delusional rants about their future together destroyed any sympathy the judge might have felt. Her voice remained steady even as she described the worst moments. The FBI's digital forensics team made a shocking discovery. Connor had been recording videos of his captives as insurance, storing them in encrypted cloud accounts. The evidence he'd created to protect himself became the strongest proof of his guilt. His lawyer's face went pale as video after video played in court. Connor's mother took the stand against her own son. She revealed disturbing journals from his childhood that she'd hidden out of shame, documenting his early fantasies about controlling women. Her testimony, delivered through tears, tipped the scales decisively. The prosecutor pulled me aside with a question: did I want to pursue maximum charges that could mean life in prison for Connor, or support a rehabilitation-focused sentence? I thought of Roxy in that cellar, of Emma's lost years, of Amy's trauma. The choice was clear: maximum charges. My decision split the friend group permanently. Some supported the hardline stance, understanding that Connor's pattern of escalation meant he'd likely cull someone eventually. Others thought I'd become vindictive, unable to see past my anger. The divide felt permanent. Connor's attempts to manipulate the jury failed spectacularly. As survivor after survivor shared their stories, his pattern became undeniable. Emma flew in to testify in person. Amy found the courage to speak publicly for the first time. Their combined testimony painted a picture of a predator who'd been perfecting his methods for years. In a desperate move, Connor attempted sewer slide in his holding cell, hoping to generate sympathy. Alert guards who'd seen this manipulation tactic before intervened quickly. The attempt only reinforced the prosecution's argument that he was calculating and dangerous. The guilty verdict on all counts brought relief, but no joy.